In the last video I made about healthy boundaries, I was talking about how couples have to have the ability to draw boundaries for each other. And as I said in that video, this is a really delicate, sensitive topic for a lot of couples. There is a belief, or maybe even an illusion, that to be in a relationship means no boundaries, that everything is available to everyone in the relationship. There's a lot of real fear and anxiety around the notion that, in fact, one partner might hold something back or keep something private to themselves, or at least under their authority. Sometimes you hear it phrased as no secrets. Well, I'm not sure there should be secrets either. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm saying each of us has a need for our own personal space. If we're talking about boundaries, we're really talking about what belongs to me. And it's important to distinguish those two things. A boundary just essentially tells you when you've reached the edge of something. In this conversation, it's the edge of my personal space. But it's not just personal space physically. That's a good place to start, though. Personal space might be my desk, my side of the bed, my part of the bathroom, my car. It's different for different people. And different people have different space needs. But I can say with confidence that every person on earth has stuff in the physical world, a location, an object, clothing, possessions that they see as belonging to them. That's boundaries 101, is that you don't get to mess with my stuff, mess with my space, mess with my car, unless you talk to me first, unless you ask permission to cross that boundary. I want to say that one more time. Boundaries aren't about keeping somebody out forever. They're about asking permission and getting permission before you cross that boundary. I often think of the fences in people's yards. Fences aren't, designed to keep everybody out forever. Well, maybe for a few people. Fences are meant to be, this is our space. If we invite you into it, you're welcome, but you're not welcome if you're not invited. Same thing for people's personal space in a relationship. This may sound obvious to some people, but for a lot of people, the notion is that a boundary is somehow meant to be punishing or judgmental. No, I as a living creature need my own space. That can take other forms. Maybe at the end of the day, you need 10, 15, 20 minutes, a half an hour to detox before you can come into the house. And when I say come into it, I mean be present, interact. Maybe work takes so much out of you, you need a 20-minute nap, or you need to take a walk, or you need just to be left alone. You might be surprised how many people I talk to who have that one exact need, not a huge one, but their partner takes it personally. You don't want to be with me. You don't want to be with the family. No, I just need some time to get out of work mode and into home mode. How that looks, how long it is, that's stuff to negotiate with your partner, but that's a kind of boundary. And I see the results in couples where those boundaries don't exist. I come home and I must immediately jump in, but I bring all my work tension with me. I bring my frustration or exhaustion or whatever's going on with me, and I'm not really here. I'm not prepared yet to be in the space. That's another example of a boundary. And it kind of begins to move into other kinds of space, other places that need boundaries, like emotional space or psychological space. For instance, people manage grief and sadness in different ways. Some of us, when we grieve, just want people around us. Some of us, when we grieve or are sad, just need to be left alone. That's a kind of boundary. And we have to, state those boundaries, and then we have to enforce them. And we'll get to enforcement in a minute. That's a big part of this video. But the bottom line is I've got to create some space for myself. Boundaries are about giving myself the necessary space so I can be healthy, so I can be functional, so I can even be in this relationship in a present, active, engaged way. I referenced something called boundaried but unguarded in the last video. We really only have two choices. Either we draw healthy boundaries and enforce them, so when we're available, we're genuinely available, or we don't draw boundaries. People walk over those boundaries, and some part of us is always shielded. the irony of the belief that nobody should ever have any boundaries is at the end of the day, I can guarantee there's going to be boundaries, but they're going to be reactive. They're going to be defensive, and people are going to shut down because they don't feel like they have permission to have their own boundaries, their own space. Okay, so I hope I've made the argument that people need space and they need the boundaries to make that space possible. What stops us from enforcing them? Well, it's anxiety. That's the bottom line. Some of us feel like if we draw boundaries, people are going to be mad with us. I'd argue a lot of people are afraid that if we draw boundaries, people are going to be upset with us. And so we do things like say, well, they should just know. I told them once, I've told them twice, they don't respect it. There's nothing I can do. No, that's not true. It is on each of us to enforce our own boundaries. Now, ideally, that wouldn't be an angry, defensive thing. Would be, hey, you know what? I'm sad right now. You know what? I'm beat right now. You know what? I need you to not just go in my car without asking my permission. Please, it's my space. You have to enforce those. There's no reason you can't do it gently, directly, compassionately, kindly, but you still have to enforce them. And if people don't respect those boundaries, you're going to need to have a tussle. I don't mean something terrible. I mean, have a conversation, maybe even a difficult one, and say, I don't feel like I'm getting respected. And then wrestle with that issue until you guys find a solution. More about that in difficult conversations, other videos that are coming. But the point is, you have to enforce it somehow. And that gets so bad for some people, we don't even really state our boundaries in the first place. Some of us are so uncomfortable, we can't even, suggest that we have a boundary, which makes it even harder. How can our partners know what our boundaries are if we don't tell them? I want to say that one more time. We can't know someone else's boundaries until they tell us. I don't think anyone watching this video is an operational telepath able to read people's minds. That'd be great if we could, but it doesn't seem to be a real thing. So we have to tell each other our boundaries and we have to enforce them. It can't be a wish. It can't be just a preference or a gentle, you know what, I thought I'd prefer to be by myself. It's, listen, I need this thing for myself. Please don't do this. Please do this. That doesn't take out the role of negotiation. Just because I want it doesn't mean I'm guaranteed to get it, but I should at least start with the request, the need for the boundary, and then wrestle with it until we can come to some solution together. Maybe I want 2 hours at the end of the day, but given the kids, I can only take 30 minutes. Okay, then let's negotiate that. Maybe once a week I get 2 hours. Again, couples have lots of options if they'll communicate with each other. So here's my question today. Where are your boundaries? Where are you not feeling like you have the space you need to be healthy, to take care of yourself, and then actively be in the relationship? Where do you feel like someone is walking over your boundaries? The nice part about this part of the conversation is everybody knows almost instantly where they feel like their boundaries are being crossed. And the real issue is, are we taking steps to enforce it? All right, thanks. See you next time.